Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Moxxie Coaching Podcast. Michelle here. Thank you so much for being here this week. I really do appreciate it. I feel like I'm chatting with friends, and that just makes it even more fun for me. We are gaining new followers, and first of all, welcome to everyone here who is new. What we do here is learn how to use the tarot in a way that is personally helpful for you as an individual. And what we do here is share information about the tarot that is designed to help you read the tarot as a complete beginner. We'll talk about this in a future podcast. I'm working on it right now, but there is no correct way to read the tarot. This is my way of reading. This is what I want to share with you because I feel like it is helpful, it's useful, and it works. So, if that's you, stick around. Thank you so much. To everybody else who's been here a while, remember to please rate and review. It really helps everybody find the podcast, and I would greatly appreciate it. Preferably, like 5 stars would be awesome. Okay. All right. This week we're going to talk about how to read the tarot with confidence. And confidence is something that certainly comes with time as a reader, but there are other things, or there are things we can do. There are ways that we can approach reading the tarot that make things easier. There are things that we can do that will help us feel more confident in a tarot reading, and that's what we're going to talk about today. One of the biggest challenges for new readers is, I think, a fear of doing it wrong. And I'm here to tell you that there is no way to do tarot wrong. You use tarot in the way that works for you, right? It's the old you do you, boo, whatever works. The whole point for me of the tarot is to provide us with insight that we might not normally have access to. So if shoving a tarot card in your bra and walking around with it for the day helps you figure something out, go for it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to work and not hurt somebody else, right? Let's talk about what we can do to help ourselves avoid that second guessing, avoid that critical inner little voice who sits there and says, "Are you sure that's what that means? I don't know, you might want to think about it this way. I don't think it means that. Nah, you might want to look it up in the book. I don't think you got this." That's what I want to help you work through. I want to help you muzzle that little guy. So what are some things that you can do? Number 1, the basics, right? Choose a time of reading when you are not tearing your hair out. I suggest not sitting down to read when you are overly emotionally activated in any way, good or bad. Certainly setting down to do a reading when you're angry, or when you're one step away from crying, being sad. It's maybe not the best time, because we're not always thinking as clearly as we should, and we're not certainly open, or as open usually, to noticing what is coming through from spirit. Okay. Second one, avoid stimulants. Avoid too much tea, too much coffee, too much caffeine, basically. I have found that I don't read well when I have had too much coffee. That my mind has a tendency to jump around from place to place. I don't get the same kind of like open-ended downloads when I am too buzzed up on caffeine. It kind of goes back to the mellow mindset thing, to get yourself into a space where you truly can tap in, right? You know, what we're doing, in my opinion, what we're doing when we're reading the tarot is two things. We're tapping into our own intuition, our subconscious, our unconscious, and we're thinning the veil between this space and the ethereal space for the purpose of gaining insight. And if we're too zippy, we aren't going to be able to hear that insight, okay? On the same note, working with your spirit guides, working to develop a relationship with your spirit guides. And when I first started doing this, I felt ridiculous. I was not raised, as you know, I was not raised in a traditionally religious household, so prayer to me seemed foreign, and it seemed disingenuous because, I don't know, I wasn't raised on God. I wasn't, the traditional God. And so for me to, to sit down and pray, it just didn't feel right. However, I wanted that connection. I wanted that feeling of someone or something having my back. And that's when I started working on my relationship with my spirit guide. Trying to establish a sense of who they are, not who this individual. Most of us have many spirit guides, but who they are, what they're trying to do to help us, what we can do to call on them for support. And when we have a sort of an open flowing relationship with our spirit guides, we find that life goes much more smoothly, and tarot readings are much easier because we're able to open up our mind and better trust what's coming through. I think a lot of new readers, like I said earlier, they overanalyze, and when you get comfortable with the idea of having your spirit guides present, or the guides of the person you're reading for, or both, when you have all of that in the space, the readings just they just flow. There's not a lot of thought that has to happen, okay? All right. So on that note, establish that relationship with your spirit guides, because when you do, it'll help you not second guess yourself. Hopefully it will help you avoid overanalyzing, because overanalyzing is, I think, kryptonite to a good reading. And this is coming from someone who learned cards by rote memory, by wanting to know exactly what it means and what it doesn't mean, and what's black and what's white, and what's right and what's wrong. And having to unlearn that analytical piece when doing the tarot was a challenge for me. It still is sometimes. If I come into a reading and I am frazzled or grumpy or whatever, not in my right space, then I do the same thing. I overanalyze. I second guess myself. I wonder if I shuffled the cards the right way. I wondered if I was appropriately grounded when I was shuffling. All of these things. And then, of course, as soon as there's that moment of doubt, as soon as there's that sort of a break in the dam of your confidence in the reading, then it all kind of falls apart. You start to second guess everything. So don't overanalyze. Don't second guess yourself. Whatever comes in first is what you need to pay attention to. Your first impressions, your first thoughts, your first visuals. And one of the things that I do when I do readings that helps me a lot, and I believe is something that I'm doing in conjunction with my spirit guides, is when I'm doing a reading, especially for someone else, I will speak the entire thing. I record them by audio, and I try as hard as I can not to think about what I'm saying. Just usually what I do is I will start out with an explanation of the card for the purposes of the person getting the reading, because sometimes people don't know. So I explain the card, explain the meaning of the card. And that's logical, that's rote memory, that's all of those things. But there is a point while I'm explaining the card, while I'm discussing the card and how it might fit in with this person, that I'm not always cognizant of what I said. And you'll find that I think sometimes in these podcasts where I'm talking, and it's flowing, and then I've lost my spot because I'm just speaking what is coming through. And when I just speak what's coming through without overanalyzing it, without second guessing it, and just let it flow, that's when I get the best results. That's when I get people who say, "Oh my God, how did you see that?" That type of insight is often catalyzed by the cards. So a card isn't going to tell you clearly, definitively, X, Y, or Z. A card is going to guide you in the direction that you need to go. And the intuitive downloads are what often will get you to those oh my gosh moments, right? Whether it's for yourself or whether it's for someone else. So just by speaking it, by not editing yourself, by not pausing the video or audio, you can do video if you want, just letting things go, I think you will find that upon listening to it later, there are some genuine nuggets of wisdom in there that you may not even remember speaking. Okay? And I just want to speak to, maybe it's my concern, that people are going to freak out. It's like, it's scary, it's channeling, it's what are you letting in, blah, 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 blah. Remember, before we do any reading, we ground ourselves. We clear our energy. We make sure our space feels good. We do all of those things so that when we do get into this space of where we're letting other things into our intuition, into our thoughts, when we're inviting higher level beings to share energy and information with us, don't worry about it. As long as you have cleared yourself, as long as you have said, in my highest and best intentions, and in the highest and best intention for my client, you don't have to worry about it. And it takes a while. It takes some practice to learn to open up and let that go. But when you do, you really are going to be amazed. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about rules, which I alluded to a little bit at the beginning. Tarot rules. Well, I think I'm one of those people who learned tarot by the rules, and now I just run around breaking all of them. I am very glad that I took the time and that I learned all the tarot card reading or meanings. I'm glad that I have the historical knowledge and the background knowledge and the quote book knowledge that I have of the tarot. And I'm a creative enough person that I use the tarot however the heck I want. I was also that person who, when I used to golf, because I sucked so bad, didn't keep score and would like whip the ball into the fairway if it was not in the fairway. So, that's the kind of person I am. So, ignore the rules. Learn the card meanings if you want to. I do recommend it. It is valuable, but you don't have to. And we're going to talk about that, like I said, in some later podcasts. I've got some really fun courses coming up. Course for someone who wants to use the tarot with absolutely no, zero, nada knowledge of the tarot cards. And another course that's going to help you build tarot card meanings for those of you who are looking to learn the tarot. This is a new system that I've developed. It is a set of cards. It's a deck itself. And the deck is designed to help you build tarot card meanings for any individual card. The deck is broken up into different categories: court cards, major arcana, minor arcana, symbolism, numerology, questions to ask, all of these different cards that you are able, or the user is able, to lay out next to the card that they are trying to come to a meaning for, a card that they are trying to figure out. And when you put all of these cards next to the card that you are trying to identify and learn about, you have an incredible amount of information available to you that, number one, you didn't have to look up in the book. And I'm not giving you card meanings, by the way. No card meanings here. This is all information and tools to help you figure out the meaning in a way that works for you. And it doesn't mean that you can't, certainly doesn't mean that you can't use traditional meanings. But the goal here is to help people who want to begin learning how to read the tarot, to do it in a way that's fun, that is flexible, and that actually works. The cards all have, on the reverse side, they have a space where you can make notes. So you can turn them into literally traditional flashcards, or you can write any kind of note that you want on the back of that card that is relevant to that card and how you are going to use it. So what this accomplishes, it accomplishes a couple things. It accomplishes helping you interpret the cards. It helps you learn the tarot cards. It helps you learn the tarot in a much, I want to say, a richer, deeper way than just simply learning the card meanings. Because by building the cards this way, you're looking at things and elements of that card that aren't usually talked about when we just give someone the meaning. There are so many meaning books out there, thousands and thousands of them probably. And you can look in each one of them, and each one of them will have a card meaning for each of the 78 cards in the deck. And it's going to talk about the practical things in the card. This card means, when you see this card, these are the key words. But it's not going to talk about the symbolism in the card, and it's not going to talk about the numerology connections in the card or the elemental connections. It's not going to talk about, in general, what type of person a Queen of Cups is. All right, so that was a lot on that. All right, so let's summarize this really quickly. What do you need to do to read tarot with confidence? Number one, work on your relationship with your spirit guides. Maintain your mindset. Come to your reading with the right mindset. Come to your reading not all jacked up on caffeine or whatever. So put yourself set yourself up for success in that way. Make sure your space feels good. Make sure that when you sit down, you're not looking at a pile of laundry that's stressing you out and pulling your attention away. Or choose to do a reading at a time when your spouse can listen for the dog barking or the baby crying or whatever it is. Mindset is important, especially when we want to tune in, tap in to our intuition and those spirit guides, because if there's too much static in the back, we are not going to recognize what's coming through. Intuitive downloads always, but even in the tarot, are very subtle. And if you are only half there mentally, you're not going to get them when you do your reading. So make sure that you're in the right space. Make sure that you're tapped in, that your space feels good. Don't second guess yourself and don't overanalyze. Trust your intuition. And lastly, ignore tarot rules. You use the tarot in the way that works best for you. In this podcast, I am offering all of the ways that I use the tarot that work for me. And if they work for you, fantastic. You might just be able to pick them up and use them. But if not, I'm not offended. My whole goal is just to get more people using the tarot, more people recognizing that it can be such a great tool for dealing with our stuff. All right, I think that is it for this week. Stay tuned, because in just a few minutes we're going to transition over to this week's tarot card reading, which is all about the new moon. We have a new moon coming on the 28th. And so we're going to talk about what we can do to support ourselves, what we can work to cultivate in this new moon, and what it is that we can consider letting go of. All right, have a great week and stay tuned. All right, let's talk tarot. This week, on the 28th, we will have a new moon. And I thought that it might be nice to do a reading for this week that reflects something about the new moon. So the first card that I chose is just a general vibe for the week card. The second card I chose is something that we can welcome in, because that's what the new moon is all about. The new moon is all about new things, welcoming things in, opening ourselves up to new things. And then the third card is something for us to let go of, something that maybe isn't serving us quite so well right now. All right. So, for the first card, for the card that just gives us the general vibe of the week, we have the Two of Pentacles. And the Two of Pentacles is all about balance, and usually balance in the physical world in some way, meaning in a physical world, not necessarily, I'm not suggesting it's about balancing basketballs or anything like, that. It's more about balancing how we're navigating our lives. And this card is suggesting that this is, it's time for us, or this week is offering us a little bit of a window for us to find that balance, to find a little bit of homeostasis in a world that feels very unstable right now, that feels very chaotic right now. And we're looking for something that can be maintained, so we're not looking for a temporary fix here. We're looking for something that can be maintained. So like a new exercise habit, or a new way of eating, or a new way of whatever it is. The vibe this week is, hey, I recognize that I, being the universe, recognize that things are very chaotic right now. Things are troubling. Things are feeling unsettled. And there are some good things going on. There are some people out there who are doing good things. There are positive forces in the universe as well. And it's also suggesting, hey, I know things are crazy. I know that you are juggling work and ridiculous temperatures and, navigating potentially kids, navigating personal stuff, navigating work, all of these things. And this card is just saying, hey, yes, you have to do those things. We don't have any choice, right? We are where we are. That's our dharma. And it doesn't mean that's always where we're going to be. So this card is a card that is suggesting to us that it's time to balance out all of those chaotic things in our life with some other counter measures. So, simple as, we talk about self-care, blah, 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 self-care. And it really is important. And that's a lot of what this card is saying. So yes, you do need to manage your daily life this week. Yes, there is a lot going on, and yes, it's hectic. And it's very important. And we do have the ability to maintain a little bit better sense of homeostasis. And by working to balance our lives out a little bit more, that sense of homeostasis can help us stay grounded in a way that help us navigate in a way that helps us navigate the craziness. So it's sort of like a keel on a boat is sort of what it's suggesting. It's like, get your keel up, get your keel ready, because things are going to feel a little bit unbalanced. And you have the tools to take care of that. You have the tools to navigate this. It's simply a matter of taking the time and getting in touch with yourself about what's really important. This particular card, I'm using my favorite deck for reading, which is the Crow Tarot, which I've talked about before. And this card, the image of the Two of Pentacles is a crow, and he's holding with his feet, and he's trying to fly. He's holding an infinity sign, And inside that infinity sign, on each section of it, each of the two sections, there is a pentacle. And he is trying to fly, and he's trying to like navigate the wind with this. If you look behind him in this card, it's windy and it's chaotic, and there are other crows that are just getting beat all to heck. And that is what this card is saying. It's like, okay, you don't need to be beaten all the heck this week. You just need to figure out a way to balance out what's there for you in a productive way. So what about welcoming in something new? So with the new moon, what we're doing is we have the opportunity to bring in new things. The new moon, the new energy. So what is it that we can do this week to welcome in the new that this new moon is bringing to us? And we have the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is bold and youthful. It's sometimes a female, sometimes a male in the deck. Just depends on who created the deck. In the original Rider deck, it's actually a woman, which is interesting and surprising. But I digress. So we are welcoming in, or we have the potential to welcome in this energy of, it's kind of like an energy storm. Pages are young. They are not always really well controlled, but they have a lot of youthful energy. So think baby bull in a china shop kind of thing, where I want to go, I want to do, I want to blah. And I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that, but I sure as heck have a lot of enthusiasm. And that's what we have to work with this week. That is something that we can allow in, hopefully to give us a little bit of a pep boost, right? I don't know about you guys, but it's midsummer. Not wishing for winter, but it is midsummer. It's hot as hell. Things are, you just get into that, I don't know, summer laziness, summer, not malaise, but I think the energy right now is maybe one of just fatigue. I think that's a better word. Fatigue, we're tired, we're hot, we're sweaty. Northern Hemisphere, everybody, I apologize. I know that I talk about, well, where I am. Okay, so that is what is available to us right now. And this energy is sort of this willingness, it's almost fool energy in a sense, that it's this youthful energy, it's very bold, it's very enthusiastic, but it might not really realize everything that it's getting itself into, but it's telling us that it is time. It is time to take some action, right? It's telling us that it is time to, what I'm getting is it's almost telling us that it's time to become indignant about how life is right now and open ourselves up to a new type of energy, this Page of Swords energy, which is very different from the overwhelming and the very top-down patriarchal energy that we have been experiencing, forever. And so it's almost like a suggestion that we welcome in this part of ourselves, this more youthful, energetic, excited self with a sense of possibility, with a sense of adventure, with a sense of, I'm going to move through this energy storm and I'm going to see what's on the other side, and it's going to be so freaking exciting. And my life could change. I have no idea, but I'm going for it. And that's kind of Page of Swords vibe. And so it's suggesting, hey, maybe it's time to consider a little bit more of that energy for ourselves. Maybe it's time to shake things up a little bit. And it's not suggesting in what way. It's just suggesting that it's time to allow in some new, more youthful, maybe a little more chaotic, but brave, youthful, motivated energy. And so that is available to us this week. Now, lastly, what is it that it might benefit us to let go of this week? If we're inviting in something in, it might benefit us to let something go to make room. And the card that came up is the Moon. And Major Arcana card of mystery and dreams, nightmares, our shadow self. And this card shines a light on our insecurities. The moon itself can obscure things, and it can shine light on things. It depends on what phase of the moon is, what phase the moon is in. In the moon card, it's a full moon, and it is, as I said, shining on our insecurities. It is helping us to see and suggesting that it's time to take a look at maybe where we've had some fear, maybe where we've had some anxiety, maybe taking a look at what has been hidden by the moon until this, what's the word I'm looking for? Figurative full moon in this card. So time to allow ourselves to take a look at what's been hidden, to show us where our insecurities are, and to let those go. So it could be that, this card is suggesting that we do this type of work, that it would be a productive time for us to do some of this shadow work, to identify some of our insecurities, to work with them and release them, okay? Or this card could be pointing to, and this could very much depend on who you are as an individual at this moment, could be pointing to, okay, you've been in a very intense emotional space lately. You are feeling maybe a little confused. You're feeling like you're not sure about what's what. Feeling changes inside yourself, but not able to articulate them yet. And perhaps spending a little too much time in this space of the moon and exploring the dark side and those types of things. Basically, we could look at it from the perspective of this card saying, lighten the heck up, okay? But you're going to have to make a decision about which of these interpretations really applies to you, as an individual. Have you been in a space where, you have been sort of in a dark space lately, and you haven't been wanting to deal with things, and you've been shoving things down, and you've been, trying to figure out what's going on? It's like that push-pull of, I want to know, but I don't want to know. And that space takes a lot of energy. So potentially give yourself a break from that energy for a little while, or let go of the things that you have found in your shadow work. Release those things and allow yourself to grow and move forward. And you know, a lot of times until we're able to release those shadow side things, it's tough. We get in our own way. So that is another way that this card could be viewed in this situation. All right, so to wrap up the week, we have a suggestion that the general energy of this week is hectic and chaotic, and that there is balance to be had if we work at it in whatever way works best for us. We are welcoming in this new, exciting, dynamic Page of Swords energy. What are we going to do with it this week? What are we going to do with this go-get-em attitude of, it's like a go-get-em. It's like raring to go, chomping at the bit kind of energy. So what are you going to do with that energy for yourself, in your life, with your loved ones? And then lastly, we have the moon, which we just talked about being perhaps a suggestion that we, number one, either let go of being in this space of over-analysis for a little while. I know a lot of people are waking up right now. A lot of people are, I heard the term the other day, coming online, which I really liked. And you know, people are shifting, their value systems are shifting, their goals are shifting, their motivations are shifting, and we're spending a lot of time in this headspace. And all of that is great. I mean, I think it's wonderful to see all of these new people coming online and starting to be interested in healing, healing themselves, healing their loved ones, healing the earth, healing, you know, our collective wounds. And we can spend too much time there. So, you know, look at yourself. Where are you with that? Are you one of those people that's been really focusing too much and you need to take a break? Or are you one of those people that maybe you've been focusing a lot and you've come up with some answers for yourself, but you're driving yourself crazy with those answers or with those insights that you gained? You know, just because people don't want to do shadow work because they don't want to, they're afraid of what they will find. But without doing that shadow work, all of those things just sit there and marinate and get stronger and stronger and stronger. So this is for those of you who maybe know some of those things and are very stuck on the hamster wheel. This is permission for you to let those things go. Okay? All right, everyone, that is this week. I think that is quite a nice week, an empowering week. Let's put it that way. I think that this reading gives us tools that we can work with and suggestions for pathways to making this a better week. And that's what the tarot is all about. And I hope that you have a fantastic week, that you take advantage of the information in this reading and use it to whatever advantage works for you. All right, everybody, take care. I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.